All right, friends, Peggy Hall from thehealthyamerican.org back with you with my continuing coverage on these absolutely devastating and abnormal Maui fires. And I understand that there are also fires going on in the Big Island of Hawaii. There have been fires going on all over the world, including, of course, California. I believe it was the Mojave Desert, Death Valley, that had the largest wildfire in the history of California, if not in the United States, that was burning right there on the border going into Nevada. That was just about a week or so ago. Of course, the devastating Canadian fires that might have been, as some of you have offered your idea, that might have been a cover for whatever else was being sprayed in the air, because people were reporting all sorts of crazy smells and sensations, burning the eyes and so forth. And then there have been fires in New Mexico, Arizona, Idaho, Greece, and they all have similar profiles in that they are not acting as normal fire behavior. I have a playlist all about fires. I've had experts on this channel, including Healthy American Robert, who was in our last live chat on that live stream. I will have a link for you below. And before we dive in, I want you to, and I'm going to show you the characters that are involved in this. It is very eye-opening to me. And what I'm going to present to you is the narrative as I see it, the narrative that they are pushing. So stay tuned for that, because I'm going to show a couple of news clips, and then I'm going to show you one of the main characters that is involved. You know, I like to call those officials public serpents, and I have not drawn any conclusion as to whether this woman is serving evil or not, but there are some questions that are being raised in my mind. So I will present the information. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I am hopefully helping you in how to think and how to dig deeper and have a critical view. I want to just read a couple of the comments that I saw from the live chat in the previous video. Somebody said this is worse than a volcano on Hawaii. And I believe it was our Swiss Chalet who said that drones can be used for this type of devastation. Connect the clots to see what I mean there. And of course, do you know what could be happening? I like to spell do, D-E-W. Somebody said, yes, it is arson, but not from a lone arsonist. I'm trying to come up with a name for like a government arsonist for the government. Let me know if that even makes sense, because I would love to have some kind of descriptive word that I could use. To me, it basically looks like terrorism. And to also review what we saw in the previous video, there were no firefighters anywhere on the scene. I did not see a fire truck. I did not see any fire hoses. And there have been fires on Maui in the past. It's not that Maui never burns, but it never burns to this extent. And anybody that has eyes to see can see that this is not normal. I also want to say this, friends. I understand that it is very difficult for people to acknowledge the reality of what is going on, that there is a war against humanity. The bad guys are out to get us. Now, I can say that really with confidence and courage, because I have faith in my afterlife. I have faith in this life. I know that God put me here and you at this stage of our history, and we are in the battle. We are on the front lines of this new worldwide revolution. I'll just put it that way. So God has equipped you with the skills, with the strength, with the courage, with the know-how, or the ability to learn what to do in these situations. So obviously we want to be prepared. I don't know how you can prepare for this kind of devastation other than having enough gasoline in your car, knowing that you have a place that you can go. Sometimes, I mean, there are devastating events that you literally, I don't know how you would deal with it other than be prepared spiritually. So that is the number one thing in my book. And also number two is to live every day fully, live it in joy. Don't put off those things that you want to do. So that way we're one step ahead of the bad guys, the evildoers, the hogwashers, the puppet masters, the WEFers, the New World Disorder people. We need to stay a step ahead of them. And the only way to do that I know of is to protect your soul, to not allow the tyrants to have access to your peace. So live every day fully, use the gifts that God has given you. Nobody is promised a tomorrow. You could have somebody that lives a perfectly natural life and there's no disasters happening around them and they have a car accident. So you never know. So do not give in to the fear and the doom and the gloom of these naysayers and the doom peddlers and all of that. So I just wanted to say that, get back to some of the comments, that Maui does have fires. They're not as devastating as this. This, to me, looks like it was intentional. It looks like terrorism, and it looks like terrorism by the powers that shouldn't be. So it is a type of arson. Yes, I don't know whether it came from the air. I don't know whether it came from the ground. I would like to hear from anyone in Hawaii, on Maui, on the Big Island. Did you notice the state of the skies? Was there any spraying going on in the previous days? Some of you have said that there are combustible elements that are being sprinkled on us, and that could also lead to some of the devastation in terms of things being more flammable and combustible. So that definitely is a possibility. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The way that I look at things, they're usually, you can look at it three ways. Number one, it's exactly as it's presented. This was just a fire that got out of control. And for some reason, the firefighters weren't there. It was burning too quickly. And that just happened exactly as it's presented. That is one possibility. And I'm presenting it as a possibility. The second possibility could be at the opposite end of that spectrum, where this was completely, for example, orchestrated and planned. I mean, that is a possibility, that this was in the works and everybody's in on it and people are getting handouts and kickbacks. And, it is a possibility. The way I look at it is it probably lies somewhere in between. That there may be some natural elements that were driving the fire. It may be that the powers that shouldn't be capitalized on this. It may be that somebody flipped a switch, or they were waiting for a moment when a natural fire broke out, and then they used that as a cover story to inject and infuse more destruction. It is a possibility. I have not drawn a complete conclusion yet. I'm here to present the information. It's happening as we speak. But let me share with you these characters that are involved. And that really raises my eyebrows. That really puts me a little bit toward that third possibility of there's some shenanigans going on here that I don't like. And living in a state that basically is always consumed by fire. And the other thing is, fire is very biblical, like it's very destructive. And we equate fire with hell, fire and brimstone. So that, to me, fire is such a destructive force. And I would like to know if you are reading any symbolism into the fact that this destruction is coming by fire. It comes by, we've seen fires, we've seen tornadoes, we've seen floods, but there's something particularly off-putting to me about fire that I just wanted to mention. All right. I think that was it. Okay. Those were the comments that I took off of the previous live stream. All right. I want to show you one of the characters that has been in the news related to the story. And I also want to share with you the headlines that are coming out and the language that is coming out. So I'm going to unplug my audio so that we can listen to this. And I am just going to play it on a 1.25 so we can get through it a little quicker. So let me share my screen. I will leave a link for you if that's going too quickly, and you can watch it on your own. I don't want to spend too much time. I don't know if there's copyright violations or anything like that. So this is from Fox, and it is their weather channel. I want you to listen for the language that this reporter is using. And then together, we're going to break down the language of this public official. And I'm going to finish the video by connecting the clots and letting you know some of the other shenanigans that this public official was involved in. That's how I roll, friends. I like to dig deeper. I always want to know who these characters are, what role they might be playing, what kind of money they might be getting, and what other hidden agenda, that's how I say it, might be in their wheelhouse there. Okay, let me unplug. Here we go.
Wildfires fanned in part by winds fed in from Hurricane Dora, well off to the south. It was about 600 miles off to the south. More so from a strong high pressure region off to the north they've been wreaking havoc in Hawaii. It's unknown yet what caused the wildfires right now, but people are taking action. The United States Coast Guard rescued Maui residents that jumped into the ocean to escape the flames there. United States Representative Jill Tokuda of Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District joins us now. Congresswoman, great to have you with us here on Fox Weather, but these scenes have been awful coming in from the last 24 hours, heartbreaking scenes where we've seen entire communities being destroyed. What's the action happening right now in the fight against these wildfires?
Well, Ian, it has been absolutely heart-wrenching, devastating for us to watch, our home literally being destroyed. We haven't seen something like this since Hurricane Iniki that took out the island of Kauai. And when we saw pictures as daylight was emerging today, just the massive devastation of a place that we love, where so many of our memories are created. And it really has been a full force effect in terms of making sure that we do everything we can to support the residents there. As you said, the Coast Guard literally pulling people out of the ocean that were fleeing there from safety, from the flames that were coming up. I spoke a little while ago with Secretary Mayorkas. He's pledged the full support of all of his agencies to make sure we get the help that we need. FEMA already coming in with more firefighting support. That has made such a difference for us to know that we are going to go forward with the federal government's support, standing side by side as state, county government, everyone, the private sector. We pull together in Hawaii. We are Ohana, but we need a lot of help right now. This is going to be something that will require a lot of work for quite some time going forward.
Yes, this response has to be a swift one because that's what the threat is here. Part of what makes situations like this so scary, so dangerous, so destructive is because of the speed. And that's been fueled by the winds. Now, thankfully, that has gotten a bit better as these winds dialed back. But what's that been like for the crews that have been battling this wildfire? And do you have any new information on the containment efforts as well as some of the structures? I did see, thankfully, no reports of any lives lost, but there were numerous injuries.
Absolutely. We are all just praying and hoping today that we don't have loss of life, but we do know sadly that it is going to be an effort to go through the rubble of what was left of so many homes, so many businesses, public areas, to make sure that there is no one out there that needs immediate emergency help. And as you probably heard, our hospitals have been overwhelmed. We have had to fly life flights to Honolulu for people that were in critical condition. So we are still sending all of our prayers and our love to every single person there. And we're praying we don't find any casualties amongst the rubble, but we know that the fire was swift. This was in the dead of night. Much of this happened. And so some individuals sadly may not have made it out of their homes.
All right, friends. The reason I'm sharing this clip with you, and I will leave it for you to watch the whole thing, is I want you to see how the media is spinning it. Did you hear the words, the emotionally charged words that this newscaster used? Yes, they give them a script to read. He had to make sure that he used all of those words: scary, dangerous. And of course, it is heartbreaking. That's the reality. I do agree with that. But this was an emotionally charged report. He asked her, what has been going on the ground with the firefighting crews? She never answered the question. She talked about how swift it was, how it broke out in the middle of the night. Why was it so swift? And then she said that they had to airlift some of the people to I think she said to Honolulu. Well, if they're able to fly in these winds, where are the water tankers dropping all of the water on the island if they're able to fly? So none of this adds up. I want to play this again just a little bit, and I'm going to, I'll let the voice run. I don't think you'll be able to hear it because I'm plugged back in. That's just how my computer works. I'm just on my computer. That's my camera. It's a little bit low tech here, but I think it does the job. I will repeat some of the phrases that were concerning to me, and then stick with me because I want to show you who this woman is. And I think it's interesting that she just got elected to the US Congress, as I understand it. Prior to that, she was a state senator in Hawaii. And now it says that she started serving her term in 2023. Just pointing it out that it's a little bit like a coincidence or something, but let me show you about her background and exactly the impact that she's had on Hawaii. So stay tuned with that. And before we go any farther, I just want to send out my love and prayers to our lovely moderator, Rhonda. I know you all love Rhonda and Valerie. They have been here on this channel day in, day out, every day that I'm broadcasting, Monday through Friday, keeping the stream going, sending links, sending words of encouragement. I love how our healthy community here, our healthy American community, has just grown together, supportive, sophisticated, savvy, a little bit snarky. But Rhonda has very deep connections to Hawaii. And although she is not living on the island of Maui right now, I just wanted to let you know, Rhonda, how much my heart is breaking for you and for all of those that have been affected by this. So this is why it's so important that my purpose of this video is to help you see my techniques and strategies for critical thinking. And as one of my healthy Americans said, it's just thinking. You don't have to call it critical thinking. We just need to think. And she's so right. So this is how I dig deeper. This is how I try to read between the lies, so to speak, to find out what are the hidden messages, what are the hidden agendas, so that possibly, just possibly, we can prepare ourselves in the future and not fall for this. Absolutely, I would like to take you out of the emotional devastation and more into the critical thinking, into the intellectual realms, and that helps alleviate some of that emotional heaviness. So that's another reason that I'm doing this video this evening. All right, let's go back to that video. I want to point out a couple of things, and then we'll finish off with looking at actually, there are three characters that I want to show you who are involved in this in a certain manner of speaking. And then remember, tomorrow I'm going to do a video where I'm looking at the top 12 side effects, devastating side effects that might have the New World Disorder and the WEFers cheering because it fits their agenda. All right, share my screen again. And here we go. This is back to the Fox weather report. And you may not be able to hear it this time, but I will leave a link for you. So I am going to run it a little bit faster. I can listen quickly, and then I can just report to you what they're saying. So we'll get through it in just a minute or two here.
By winds fed from Hurricane Dora, well off to the south of about 6.
Okay, he says this was fed in part by winds from Hurricane Dora, which is off, it's not right on land or anything.
Miles off to the south. More so from a strong
several hundred miles off to the south.
high pressure region off to the north.
And a strong high pressure region off to the north,
in Hawaii. It's
wreaking havoc in Hawaii.
yet what caused the wildfire.
It's unknown yet what's caused the wildfires. And they never will know, will they? Because we never find out. We never found out. Oh, I think Paradise Fire, they blamed it on some poor woman. Our lovely Robert, who has been on this channel before, I know was in the chat, and he's spoken about a woman that has been arrested for arson. And sadly, I think some of these are staged and maybe even set up. So it's very devastating to me. It is a type of terrorism.
Fires right now, but people are taking action. The United States Coast Guard rescued Maui residents that jumped into
the United States Coast Guard rescued residents who jumped into the ocean
to escape the flames there.
To escape the flames.
Jill Tokuda, Hawaii's 2nd congressional district.
Okay. All right, so here we go. She's a congresswoman, and this is what I'm going to just repeat a little bit of their back and forth.
Great to have you with us here on Fox Weather, but these scenes have been awful coming in from the last 24 hours.
The scenes have been awful. Yes, they are coming in from the last 24 hours.
Heartbreaking scenes where we see
heartbreaking scenes, absolutely.
entire communities being destroyed.
We've seen entire communities being destroyed. Friends, I can't help but feel that this was by design, that they want this for many reasons that I'll cover tomorrow. And you know what these reasons are as well. I'm just going to compile them all in a list so that we can refer to it and educate others as well. But the language that is being used here, it's very emotional. He's leading with emotion rather than with the facts. I find that manipulative, actually. That's a way of setting aside your thinking mind, your logical mind, because it's all now in the emotional center, which is much more difficult to, keep yourself at a rational level when the emotions are involved.
What's the action happening right now in the fight against these wildfires?
Okay, he says, what's the action happening right now in the fight against the wildfires? Let's see if she actually tells us what the fight is.
Well, it has been absolutely heart-wrenching, devastating for us to.
It's been heart-wrenching and devastating for us.
Literally being destroyed. We haven't seen something like
our homes literally being destroyed. We haven't seen something like this since Hurricane Iniki, which, by the way, I also believe was enhanced by the powers that shouldn't be. That was many, many years ago. Probably that was along the time frame when people were first waking up to what was going on. That was actually pre 9/11, I believe. So that would have been like in the 1990s, if my time frame is right. Let me know if I have the date right. I wasn't focusing on Hurricane Iniki, which hit the beautiful, lovely island of Kauai, completely devastated it. And again, it was like, oh, we'd never seen anything like that before. Well, no, you haven't, because it's not natural.
The island of Kauai, and when we saw pictures as daylight was emerging today, just the massive devastation of a place that
we saw devastation as the daylight was emerging.
Where so many of our memories are created.
Where so many memories are created.
It really has been a full force, effect in terms of making sure that we do everything we can to support the residents.
We have had a full force effect to do everything we can to make sure we support the residents. Well, I don't see any firefighters. What I want to know is how many firemen are on the scene, how many trucks have been deployed, how many acres are contained, how many structures have been burned. I have not heard any of that. And this is who they bring on?
As you said, the Coast Guard literally pulling people out of the ocean.
Okay, the Coast Guard pulling people out of the ocean. That has nothing to do with putting out the fires. This is how I do my thinking about this.
Fleeing there from safety, from the flames that were coming up.
People are fleeing the flames, going to safety in the ocean. It's a very emotionally charged report.
I spoke a little while ago with Secretary Mayorkas. He's pledged the full support.
Okay, here we go. This is the heart of the matter. All right. This is where I believe they give all the emotional setup, and now they're going to slip in exactly the agenda. Here we go.
Of his agencies to make sure we could.
She said, I've spoken with
a while ago with Secretary Mayorkas.
Secretary Mayorkas.
The full support of all of his agencies.
He's pledged the full support of all of the government agencies, because only the government can take care of it.
To make sure we get the help that we need.
To make sure that we get the help that we need. That includes money, which they will need.
FEMA already coming in.
FEMA already coming in. Brilliant. FEMA is already in, not even 24 hours on the scene, and FEMA is on the scene because we all want FEMA on the scene. I stayed in a FEMA camp. I have a video on this channel about my time staying in a FEMA camp when I was in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Another one, very interesting, unprecedented devastation there in New Orleans. Yeah, back to 18 years ago.
And with more firefighting support.
Oh, FEMA is coming in with more firefighting support. Well, I've heard nothing about the island of Maui's firefighting. What's going on? No report of that whatsoever.
That has made such a difference for us to know that we are good.
That has made such a difference for us to know
With
that we are going to go forward with the federal government's help. Oh, that's so good to know. Well, I will tell you, Hawaii does love the federal government. They love all sorts of government. It's a very socialist state, always has been, at least from my experience. And when you look at their legislature and their governors and the number of people that reached out to me for help when they were being arrested for trying to go grocery shopping, breathing oxygen. So yeah, no, it's hardly the level of paradise that it used to be. So let me just replay that because I find it very interesting.
We are going to go forward with the federal government's support standing side by side.
We are going to go forward with the federal government support standing with us side by side, she says.
State, county government.
State and county government. Oh, and the private sector. We are Ohana. Ohana means family. That is one of the most lovely things about Hawaii is the Ohana, the family-like atmosphere. Absolutely, that is true.
A lot of help right now. This is going to be something that will require a lot of work.
She said, we will need a lot of help right now. This is something that's going to require a lot of work for quite some time. Okay, so she gave us all of the emotional devastation, which is authentic. Absolutely. That's reasonable. And then she sneaks in the part about FEMA and the federal government. We're so glad that they're going to be with us rebuilding. Is that how it goes? Build back better. I think that was the phrase. Or was it You will own nothing and be happy. I think that was it too. Or was it the Great Reject? Oh, I'm sorry, the Great Reset. Yes, it seems like that is happening as well. Anybody remember the Great Fire of Chicago, the Great Fire of New York, the Great Fire of San Francisco? I think I may have to do a series of videos. There are YouTubers doing that, showing how some of that doesn't add up. Even 100 years ago, the devastation and then the rebuilding of these areas. So I would like to know if any of those buildings in downtown Lahaina were going to be condemned, if people were back on their rent, if any of them were vacant. Inquiring minds want to know exactly what side benefit might have happened from this devastation. I don't have any evidence, but I am conjecturing, meaning I'm putting forth some questions that I would like to have answered. Let's continue. We'll just wrap this up. And then I've got two other people I want to present to you.
Response has to be a swift one because
the response has to be a swift one. Now this word swift has been used 3 times already. He said that there were swift winds. She said that it happened swiftly. And now he says that this has to be a swift response. That's one of their cue words, one of their, I don't mean the letter Q, somebody's being queued up to say it. This is one of their target words, one of their code words that they have to use in this report.
That's what the threat is here. Part of what makes situations like this so scary, so dangerous, so destructive.
Oh, part of what makes this situation so scary, so dangerous, so destructive. So people who are not rational are going to be swept away by this fear again. And that is what drives their viewership. Frankly, that's what they thrive on. Let's continue.
Is because of the speed, and
it's because of the speed. Why? And now he's going to tell us why.
Been fueled by the winds. Now, thankfully,
that's been fueled by the winds. Now, thankfully, the winds have died down. He says.
Gotten a bit better as these winds dial back. But what's that been like for the crews that have been battling?
All right. Here's the question. What's that been like? What have the winds been like for the crews that have been battling this wildfire?
Any new information on the containment efforts?
Do you have any new information on the containment efforts? There's 2 things he's asking her. How have the crews been affected that are fighting this? And what about the containment? How much of this fire is contained? Those are simple, direct questions that he is posing to this US Congresswoman. Here we go. I think he has one more question.
As well as some of the structures. I did see, thankfully, no reports of any lives lost, but there were numerous injuries.
Okay, then he says also what's happening to the structures. So 3 questions. How have the winds impacted the crews on the ground? He wants to know about the containment and what about the structures? What structures have been hit? And then he says, hopefully no lives have been lost. There are reports coming out that some lives have been lost, and that is very, very tragic, especially if these are terrorism based. All right. She doesn't answer it at all. All right. I will leave you a link. She does not answer it at all. We listened to that once already. And you can listen to the link where she completely sidesteps again and gives an emotional response to his question. Now, what I want to do is let's look at this woman a little more carefully, shall we? All right, here she is. Her name is, this is her, Jill Tokuda. Now, back in 2020, she was the special advisor to the Hawaii Data Collaborative, let me just say, Cooties relief funds for Cooties 19. And I'm not going to subject you to listening to this Twitter thing, but I will leave you a link. But what I did do is I jotted down what her comments were. And she said that there was, let's see, I think I wrote it down. She said that there were, oh my gosh, billions of dollars in funding that came. Hawaii got $10 billion in Cooties money, and she was the one that decided how to help spend that money. So she was involved in the Cooties in Hawaii back in 2020. Now, there's something else that's even more troubling to me. So let me cue this up and we'll take a look. And here's her view on, okay, she was a state senator. So this is her view on what was happening in Hawaii. And she said, Jill Tokuda, the woman we just saw, praises the cocktails for helping reopen schools. This is a report back May 26, 2023. So it's actually very recent. So she praises the cocktails. Let me show you how engaged she is in the cocktails. All right. So I went a little more digging here, and I'll leave these links if you want to watch more. I don't want to, have to sit through everything here on my video, but we'll take a look. So this is her bio page. So she is a US representative. So she's a congresswoman, and she represents parts of Oahu. Interesting. There are also fires on Oahu. I'm not saying she's involved in the fires. I think it's interesting that the fires are breaking out in her area. The islands of Hawaii, Kauai, Maui, Lanai, Molokai, Niihau, Kahaloi, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them correctly, and the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands, elected in November of 2022 to serve in the Congress, which was started this year. That she is on the the House Committee on Agriculture, the Committee on Armed Services, and the Select Subcommittee on the Cooties hogwash. Now, here's what caught my eye. Back when she was in the Senate, the state Senate, all right, from 2006 until 2018, she was in charge of the money, the state's $14 billion budget. She approved all of the money in the legislature, which is why she also got to spend that $10 billion for Hawaii. Now, I'm sure it's absolutely not possible that no one that she knows could ever have benefited from that money. I'm certain that none of her ohana had anything to do with benefiting from any contracts or any rebuilding or any funding at all, because Hawaii is probably one of the least corrupt states in the United States, right? Don't you agree with me? So I'm sure that that was completely above board, on the up and up. Absolutely. She's got the purse strings of $10 billion, and there you have it. So here's what I thought was interesting. When she was a governor, when she was a senator, probably acting like a governor, she also championed legislation that established the state's first executive office on early learning, meaning get the kids out of the family as soon as possible, get them into the government indoctrination schools as soon as possible. Early learning, like 2 years old, would be even better. And she funded the Hawaii Keiki, meaning children, program to provide access to health services. Yes, health services. Let me know in a comment below what you think these health services might also include. Yes, I think you know. What's that? What's that? Cocktails? Well, let's take a look-see, shall we? I did a little digging, and I found the very first thing that came up with the Hawaii Keiki program, Health Services in Public Schools. You can read it here right on the screen. Cocktails for children. So I did a little further digging, and here we have one of the links for the Hawaii Keiki. Here it is. Healthy and ready to learn. Look at, how cute this little socialistic badge here. Oh, this kind of looks like the Obama logo with, it's very New World Disorder looking to me. Hawaii State Department of Education. I have another video about the logos of the New World Disorder. You can do a search on or maybe Olivia will link that up for me. The logos of the New World Disorder. Yes, they're all in on it together. So here we go. Providing cocktails at no cost. That is so generous, because we want the children to become pincushions as early as possible in Hawaii. So here we are. Cocktails for Children is a federally funded program. Well, it gets a little better. I'm going to show you who started the federally funded program. For all y'all who are just loving candidate Kennedy, I just want you to know the facts. All right. So I'm not here to tell you who to vote for or how to vote or what to think, but hopefully how to think. And I know, I actually do know that people can be blinded by their knight in shining armor. They don't want them to fall off the white horse. And they are confronted with cognitive dissonance, not able to see the facts. Doesn't bother me. I'm going to continue to present the facts. So here we go. This is a federally funded program that provides cocktails at no cost to children who might not otherwise be pincushions because of their inability to pay. Now, this money comes from this Cat Dog Cat, and it distributes these cocktails to programs such as state health departments and local public health agencies, which in turn distribute them at no charge. Well, let me just come off the screen share for a moment. So, setting the stage, this woman who is not providing any factual information in that interview that I just showed you, all she provided was emotionally based information. She evaded the question as to how many, like what's going on with the crews on the ground, how much is contained, and why was she on this news report if she was not going to give any information? Now that and she's a US Congresswoman. Now that we look into her background, we see that she used to be a senator. We see that she held the purse strings for $10 billion, if I have my amount right, for the hush money. I'm sorry, what I meant to say was blood money, in terms of the Cooties hogwash, so that people would go along with what the government said. And Hawaii was one of the strictest states, according to the Healthy Americans that brought me their reports and eyewitness examples and situations of what happened. Now we find that not only was she in charge of the money, but she's bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Or maybe she hasn't, but she's presenting it as she has. So she has gotten this federally funded money to get the kids at an even younger age with the early learning program. Let me just ask you, do you know who kicked off these federal funds back in 1962? Yes, how long ago is that? Is that 60 years, 61 years ago? Guess who was president back in 1962? Oh, yes, the Kennedy, JFK, not RFK. RFK always talks about JFK. Always talks about my uncle, and it's the Kennedy DNA, and it's in my DNA, and my family, and my father, and his other uncle, Ted Kennedy, who drove off a bridge in Chappaquiddick and left a woman who then died because he didn't report it to the police for several hours. Yeah, that Kennedy family. And the Joseph Kennedy, who was RFK's grandfather, who actually was the one who got JFK into office. Yeah, the same JFK whose sister had a lobotomy performed on her because she apparently was a slow learner. And, the scuttlebutt is that they didn't want to embarrass the family. So she became basically brain dead and had to live out her 80 plus years in a type of nursing home. Yeah, that family. And there's so much more that I'm going a little far afield here. What I want to tell you is that JFK is the one who signed this bill into law. Let me bring it to you in case you're not aware of it. And this was called the National, let's just call it Cocktail Assistance Act of 1962. So I've got links for you, friends, but let me just bring you on over to a quick share here, and you'll see that this is a description of the science. Of course, they're going to talk about the science. So here we are. It's called the, here it is, in 1962. Okay. The new presidential administration of John Kennedy was more receptive to the idea of federal involvement in health. Are you following me? JFK, who RFK is always referencing, the DNA and all of that, he was the one that approved. He could have vetoed, and he didn't. He was actually receptive. He was in favor of the idea of federal involvement for the federal government to pay for the cocktails. And this was it. In 1962, Congress passed the Cocktail Assistance Act. And I use these words to not trip the algorithm. That's how I've been able to outwit the nitwits and stay on this channel, although I've had several strikes over the years. And I have all my backup channels, Rumble, BitChute, all of that. So you can always find me there if for some reason this goes off. I have a second channel on YouTube, Living Swell with Peggy Hall. Find me there if this ever goes down. All right, 1962, this law was signed by JFK. It created a permanent home for the cocktail programs within the US Public Health Service. Why is RFK not talking about getting rid of this federal funding if he is so much against cocktails, as all y'all, not you smart ones, but all the other ones that just drop by say, Peggy, you're twisting his words. Well, I have a whole compilation of his own words. And yes, it is a compilation. And yes, it is edited. So you can see it all quickly. And I've got links to the entire video if you want to watch it. I can't put a video here of 6 hours long. So I'm doing you a favor of doing the research. And yeah, bring it. Keep attacking me. You know what? I can take it. I got God on my side. That's all you got is to be a naysayer. Yeah, bring it on. I can take it. All right. I've got the truth and I've got the facts. So that's on my side. The act provided grants in aid to states to support the delivery of all of these cocktails. And let me just say this. This has been refunded, meaning they didn't get their money back. Every year, it's funded again for the federal government to give money. And I'm doing research along with my assistant, Olivia, to try to find out exactly how much money is going to the states. And the public health departments and the schools are getting money to enforce the distribution and the pincushion protocols. JFK signed that into law. Why doesn't RFK ever fight against that? Why doesn't he ever mention it? Why doesn't he ever say, gosh, that was a big boo-boo that my uncle did? No, he never even mentions it. Maybe he's not even aware of it, but I'm aware of it. And now you're aware of it. And apparently this US Congresswoman is aware of it. Let me connect the clots for you, because she was the one that fought to get more federal funding so that they could get the kids to become human pincushions even earlier in life. So when I look at a person and I want to assess their credibility, I look at their character. I look at what they believe in. I look at their values, and I can see where she is. And then she talked about the federal government coming in to help. And I'm not saying that there isn't a need for federal funding. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't like that narrative that the federal government is going to save the day. And when I bring you my video tomorrow, you're going to see that is one of the side effects of deepening this reliance on the federal government. Why can't the state government take care of it? And where, again, is the state? Where are the state firefighting forces? We don't see them. All right. Stick with me, friends. I'm just going to finish up the video, but I want to share with you two other characters that are involved in this, and it was very troubling to me. So here is another woman, and I think I showed this one to you previously, and she is the, okay, I've got so many things open for you here. And oh, I've got one more thing on JFK. All right, let me share this before we go on. I know you can follow me as I jump around. You told me that you can follow along. So here we go. This was April 12th, 1961. All right, the president, this is JFK talking. All right. And he says, today is the 16th. I'll do a whole nother video on this because it deserves its own video, but I just have to connect the clots for you. Today is the 16th anniversary of the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It's also the anniversary of the announcement that a cocktail has been discovered to prevent paralytic polio. I got to bring you a video on that because things are not what they appear about that disease either. Today, over 90 million Americans have been pincushioned with this ingredient. Over 80 million. They love that word 80, even that number 80, even all the way back then. Here it is again. Almost 4,800,000 children are still pureblood, and the majority of these are under 5 years of age. Thank you, Lord, for saving them. Listen to JFK's words. I hope that the renewed drive this spring and summer to provide cocktails for all Americans, and particularly those who are young, got to get them while they're young so they can damage them from the get-go, will have the wholehearted support of every parent in America. Why doesn't RFK speak out against that? It's the exact opposite. I have videos of him saying that he is in favor of policies that would require full pincushion status for all Americans. I'm not twisting his words. These are recent words. This is what he believes. And as he says, it's in his DNA. And don't give me the pushback. Oh yeah, give me the pushback. Come on, bring it on, bring it on. You're going to say, Peggy, he's just saying that. Oh, so you want somebody who lies to be your elected president? That's what you want? Well, then you'll have a very good candidate, because apparently he lied to his wives when he was cheating on them while he was still married. This is public knowledge. So when I look at a person's character, I'm not talking about divorces, that happens. And I'm not talking about people that are repenting of their past behavior. I haven't heard that. So if that is the case, I would love to have evidence, and I would love to have my information about that. So I look at the person when I am making those decisions. And so far, I am not impressed. All right. I had to bring that in because it ties into the characters that are involved in this fire. So let me do this. There is a video that I want to share with you. And this is of, I think there's just one more character that I want to bring to you. Two, if you count the newscaster here. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and I know some of you, actually, I better leave that comment for another day about the newscasters. I might have to do a video on all of the newscasters. I don't know if this individual would qualify or not, but possibly. Anyway, let's get to the information at hand. This is ABC News, and this woman that you see over here with the KITV, she is the meteorologist, the local meteorologist for ABC News on the island of Maui. What I want you to listen to, and I will link this up for you as well. I'm not going to play the whole video at 7 minutes, but I'm going to play to you something that caught my eye. So I will unplug my video. I'll play it at normal speed. Let's see, what did I have it at? All right, we'll play it at normal speed. And again, you're going to hear the question. You're going to hear the non-answer. And I want you to hear the emotion that is injected in here by the newscaster, as I'll call this person right now. Let me just back up a little bit and we'll see if I have it queued up correctly. All right, here we go. Get the audio going and let's see where this picks up.
And this is just, getting going, and it's intense. And I have to ask you, I mean, you're a meteorologist. This is the subject you're an expert in. This is what you do for a living. Did you even see this coming? Have you ever witnessed anything like this? And ironically, this week here at ABC, we're doing this whole special on climate change.
Well, what a coinky dink. They're doing a whole special on climate change. She's smirking a little bit. And I have to believe, well, let's see what you think. I'm going to play this out. I don't even know if you can hear me, but let's play this out.
And is this going to change your mind just about what's happening within our environment as you witness a disaster where you live?
It's a yes and no. So as a meteorologist this weekend, as I said, I was on the air warning people of what was to come. We knew that Dora was passing to the south. We knew it was a very strong system. We knew we had high pressure to the north. That pressure gradient between those pressure systems was going to be tight and was going to bring us very damaging winds. We know that when we have damaging winds, that power lines go down, trees go down. So we warned of all of those things. I think the no part is we've never seen anything like this before. I've been talking to some of my firefighter friends who've been doing this on Maui for decades, and they have never had a situation like this before. So the magnitude of those winds being with gusts up to 80 miles per hour, we've just never seen anything like it. The wind would knock you down. It was hurricane force winds, which is wild because the hurricane is so far away. And so I think this is a learning moment that it doesn't take a direct hit for really crazy severe weather to happen. It's a wake-up call to know what to do. It's a wake-up call to have your family plan, to have an out-of-state contact that you can call and that your family members can call so that at least you can find out if your family members are okay when cell service is completely tied up here locally.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Gosh, I know this video is running a little long. Some of you said you wish my videos were longer. So let's review what we saw in this news coverage. Again, there is the fear mongering. I will leave a link for you so you can watch the entire thing. But what I wanted to hone in on was the fact that the anchor person said, isn't it ironic that this week we are having our special on climate change, the climate catastrophe. So she asked the woman, have you ever seen anything like this before? And do you think it has, she basically was asking, do you think this has anything to do with the climate changing? I want to actually want to read your comments as they're coming in, because I will let you know what I concluded. And I have a feeling that you may be, oh my gosh, are we even live chatting here? I hope so. Anything like this before. Okay. Yes. So what I saw from this newscaster, she looked very uncomfortable. Her eyes went to the side. She never directly answered the question about climate catastrophe or the climate crisis. She said that it was crazy and that they had never had winds like that, hurricane force winds without a hurricane. Now, some of you are savvy enough to know that that beautiful stringed instrument that you play, that, you know, we see on movies that the angels are playing. I cannot use that word. I tried it last time and they froze my video, so I cannot use it. You could probably put it in a comment, maybe spell it with an asterisk or something like that. That comes out of Alaska. It is proven, and I've done videos on this channel before, that hurricanes can be magnified, they can be manipulated. All of that is proven. They've been doing it for, oh my gosh, since the 1940s, if not earlier. So this woman, I believe, understands exactly what's going on. That's what I'm concluding. And I'm concluding that based on her evading the question about, was this related to climate change? She diverted and she said that the firemen that she talked to said they had never seen anything like this before. And to me, that actually gives more weight and evidence to my conjecture. Remember, that's kind of like my theory, what I'm putting forth, my premise. My argument is that this is not normal, that there is something beyond natural fire behavior. And we've seen that they can do things in the air, they can do things spraying, they can do things from the ground, they can do things electronically, they can do things with who knows what. There might be some kind of lights or something that were put up. I've not been to Hawaii in many, many years, so I don't know. But what I liked about this interaction was the meteorologist was saying, you need to be prepared. You need to have an emergency plan. You need to know how to connect with your family. She was not giving in to the fear mongering. She was actually saying, I reported on this. I reported on the strong winds and the high pressure and how that could create winds that could bring power lines down. She never said that power lines could cause a fire. And I'm sure that can happen, but I've always been skeptical about that as well. Then how can birds be sitting on power lines? And I know an exposed power line is different. I'm just saying that has always made me question that narrative as well. Does that really happen? How frequently does it happen? And probably what will happen is the electricity rates will go up because their electric company, and I don't know who it is, but probably owned by all the big ones are, by the powers that shouldn't be. Their rates will probably go up because they'll say that they have to pay for all of this retrofitting. So I'm going to bring all of that to you tomorrow. So, okay, Sea Whale, thank you so much. Here, she sent me this lovely gift of Organite. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. Let me share my screen. I have it right in front of my computer. And I've been waiting I will do a separate video on this because I've been researching about it. I want to learn more about it. I have this next to all of my electronic devices. So I have it next to my cell phone. I have it next to my computer. And that way, that ideally is going to mitigate some of that negative effects of the EMF. I'm not an expert in that. I want to become an expert in that. So that's why I haven't spoken about it, but I want to thank you so much for your lovely gift. You sent several of these items. I have them all around my house. And at the very least, it brings me peace of mind knowing that I'm doing something good for myself. All right, let's wrap up here, friends. Wow, what a wild ride this video was. Who knows, maybe I'll have my lovely Olivia break it into 2 chunks or something, but I wanted to just give you a deeper dive on this live because things just don't add up. And the news reporters pushing the fear mongering as always. Absolutely, it's devastating. There's no way to sugarcoat it. But let's get to the facts of the matter. We've never heard about the first responders. There's no video of anybody putting any fire out. There's no scene of any helicopters, yet we heard that helicopters were flying people to other hospitals, to other islands. So why couldn't they be dousing it with water? I also find it very, very troubling that it broke out at night because more people were at home. And I think that happened in the Paradise tragedy and terrorist attack as well. That's how I'm going to refer to it, because it just seems very orchestrated and at the very least sensational. That's not the right word, that they're profiting off this and they're sneaking in, not even sneaking, they're blatantly talking about the fact that it is the climate change that is driving this. And I want to dive into that, the deep dive tomorrow. I've got to stop now. I could keep going all night, but I really want to stop right now because I want to save my voice and I want to have these be separate videos. And I'm bringing this to you without any sponsor message. You can share these widely. Nobody has to, scroll through and skip ahead to the main point. So main points were made throughout this video. And I want you to rewatch it if possible. You can watch it on a faster speed. I want you to study that part about JFK. I know I kind of threw that in, but it's such an important part when we look at the characters that are involved in this story. So they want more federal government involvement. They're going to have the people losing their businesses. They're going to be more expensive to have fire insurance, more expensive to have your homeowner's insurance. There are going to be toxic elements in the air where they're not going to want you to be there. There's so much more opportunity for government control here. And that's really the bottom line as I see it. We are living through very, very difficult times, but I want to remind you that God put you here at this time in life. As we end up, would you just let me know in a comment, what are some of the strengths that you can bring during these difficult times? Are you somebody that can keep a level head? Are you a person of prayer? Are you a person of discernment? Are you a very organized person that can help get all of your emergency stuff together? I will sneak in a little tidbit here for you. I do have my preparewithpeggy.com. I will have a link for you below where you can get your emergency food. I have it in a bucket. It's not food that I would normally eat, but if I just want to grab that bucket and go in a dire emergency, I know that I can live for a month with these foods that you can prepare with water. You don't even need any heat or energy source. I don't know how good they'll taste under those circumstances, but it's something that gives me peace of mind. So that's one thing that I do in my own household. Also, let me know if you want more videos on prepping. I'm not an expert, but I am kind of in the middle of the road. I've been prepping for some time. I can share with you my tips and strategies if you're interested. There are lots of good preppers. I think Alaska Prepper is one. Give him a shout out. You can drop some YouTubers. How do I say that? Names of YouTubers in the comments for us to check out. I'm getting tongue-tied now after a couple of hours of streaming, but this was so important. And so many of you asked me to cover this in great detail. So let me know what you bring to the table. All right. For myself, I am a person of perseverance. I just keep going. I have a high level of just determination. I don't give up. That's why, the naysayers, I welcome them. Bring it on. Like, that's all you got. That's all you got is some, comment that you think I'm going to take down my YouTube channel or something. No, I want to hear it. I want to hear how I can continue to improve my teaching. And that's another skill that I bring to the table. I have the ability to take the information, distill it. I've got my teddy bear there that's telling me to wrap it up and take her on a walk. So I want to hear about your gifts. All right. I also have an optimistic nature. What if what's going on now could turn out better than expected? What if more and more people are going to wake up when they see this level of devastation? They may have been asleep to it all, and now they're scratching their head saying, this ain't right. And they start to dig deeper. This could be a wonderful opportunity for more and more people to connect, to become more self-sufficient, to live each day more fully, never knowing when the devastation could hit. All of these are hidden gifts. So that's really the how-to of this video. That is the solution that I want to leave you with. Focus on your gifts. Focus on developing perseverance, optimism, determination, connecting with others. Maybe you've been in a rut and this is the time you want to break out of your rut. Maybe you've been procrastinating on some important projects that now you're like, I'm going to get this done because there could be a terrorist event that is sloshed all over me. And I want to make sure that I'm living life to the fullest. So spend your time doing what makes your heart sing, using your gifts as God has intended. I am going to be here for you day in, day out, all day. It seems like all day, nearly every day, Monday through Friday, with our lovely Healthy Americans on board. You support me with your comments, also with your financial gifts, which I'm so grateful for, your cards, your letters, the emails that you send to the support email, all of that is what keeps me going. I'm not doing this for anything other than God told me to. Fight evil, expose the evildoers, bring the truth, connect with others, educate, empower, inspire, and I hope that is getting through. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. I'll be with you tomorrow, and we'll talk about these devastating side effects that might just make the WEFers and the New World Disorderers applaud. And we need to be aware of that and help educate others as well. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the evening. I really appreciate you. We're going to get through this.